The crystal champagne flute shattered against the terracotta tiles of the vineyard terrace, sending shards skittering like fleeing secrets across the sun-warmed stone. You think you can just waltz in here flaunting your deviance like it's some badge of honor? The bride's voice sliced through the murmur of guests, high and venomous, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing toward the woman in the navy blazer. Arabella Thorne didn't flinch, not outwardly, but inside something ancient and fragile cracked wide open, the kind of wound that doesn't bleed but echoes for years. It was supposed to be Julian's day, her brother's wedding in the sun-soaked hills of Andalusia, where the air smelled of jasmine and ripening grapes, and the Sierra Nevada mountains loomed like silent judges in the distance. Arabella had flown in from Brooklyn 2 days early, her battered leather duffel stuffed with olive branches, literal ones woven into a rustic wreath she'd made as a gift, a nod to their shared childhood in upstate New York, where they'd chased fireflies and dreamed of escaping the gray winters. She was the invisible sibling, the one who handled the family crises with quiet efficiency. The late-night calls when Dad's Parkinson's flared, the spreadsheets that kept Mom's medical bills from drowning them. Julian called her his rock. But rocks don't get speeches at weddings. They get sidelined. The reception had unfolded like a glossy Pinterest board. White linens billowing in the breeze, fairy lights strung between ancient cork oaks, a string quartet playing Vivaldi under the fading apricot sky. Arabella lingered on the edges, nursing a glass of Rioja, her short auburn hair tousled by the wind, green eyes scanning the crowd for familiar faces. She spotted her brother across the lawn, his tall frame easy in a linen suit, laughing with his new wife Lydia, blonde, poised, the kind of woman who turned heads in boardrooms and ballrooms alike. Lydia Whitaker, corporate lawyer from Boston, with a laugh like champagne bubbles and a resume that could wallpaper a penthouse. They'd met at a Harvard alumni mixer, bonded over craft IPAs and shared disdain for small talk. Julian had gushed about her in emails. She's the one, Bells. Makes me want to be better. Arabella wanted to believe it. God, she did. But as the toast dragged on, Lydia's sorority sisters waxing poetic about soulmates and forever, Arabella slipped away to the terrace for air. That's when Emery appeared, like a mirage in the heat haze. Emery Reyes was the photographer, a freelance artist from Seattle with a camera slung around her neck like a talisman, her dark curls pulled into a loose bun, strands escaping to frame a face that held the quiet intensity of someone who'd seen too many sunsets alone. Mid-30s with warm brown skin that glowed under the Spanish sun, she wore khaki cargo pants rolled at the ankles, a faded band tee under a linen shirt, and boots scuffed from trails in the Cascades. Her eyes, deep hazel flecked with gold, caught the light as she adjusted her lens, capturing candids of the guests. Arabella had noticed her earlier during the ceremony, the way Emery moved like she was choreographing light itself, kneeling in the grass for low angles, climbing a low wall for overheads, her focus unyielding yet soft, as if she were whispering to the moments rather than stealing them. Now on the terrace, Emery lowered her camera, a half-smile tugging at her full lips. Mind if I steal a shot? You look like you've got stories etched in those lines around your eyes. The good kind. Arabella blinked, caught off guard. Stories? Or scars? She laughed, a low self-deprecating sound that surprised even her. It had been months since she'd flirted with anyone, longer since it felt real. Back home, her life was a rhythm of freelance graphic design gigs, dog walking for neighbors, and the occasional bar crawl with her queer book club. Dates fizzled fast, too many women spooked by her baggage, code for the family she carried like an anchor. Emery tilted her head, undeterred. Both. That's what makes the light hit different. She raised her camera again but paused. Name's Emery. Hired gun for the Whitakers. You. Arabella. Sister of the groom. The one who doesn't do small talk. She extended a hand, callous from sketching and sculpting clay in her tiny Bushwick studio. Their palms met, warm, steady, and something shifted in the air, like the first note of a song you didn't know you needed. Emery's thumb brushed the inside of Arabella's wrist, accidental or not, sending a spark up her arm. They talked then, words tumbling easy as the hillside breeze. Emery's love for analog film, the way she'd backpacked through Patagonia chasing auroras. Arabella's obsession with Frida Kahlo's self-portraits, how pain could bloom into beauty. Laughter came next. Shared eye rolls at the over-the-top floral arches, whispers about the best tapas spot in Ronda. It was innocent, electric, the kind of connection that makes you forget the world for a breath. Until Lydia swept onto the terrace, her gown trailing like a comet's tail, cheeks flushed from dances and Dom Perignon. "Emery, there you are. We need those family portraits before the cake." Lydia's voice trailed off as her gaze landed on Arabella, then flicked to their proximity, shoulders brushing, wine glasses touching midair. The shift was instantaneous, a storm cloud rolling over the sun. Lydia's blue eyes narrowed, lips pursing into a line that Arabella recognized from depositions, judgment honed sharp. Emery stepped back, professional mask slipping into place. "On it, Lydia. Just wrapping a candid." She shot Arabella an apologetic glance, mouthing later, before vanishing into the crowd. Lydia turned fully to Arabella, arms crossing over her bouquet. "And you are Arabella Thorne, Julian's sister." She kept her tone even, extending the wreath like an olive branch. "Congrats, by the way. It's beautiful." Lydia's smile was a blade, all teeth and no warmth. "Thorne. Right. The other one." She accepted the wreath with manicured fingers, but her eyes roamed, taking in Arabella's cropped hair, the subtle pride pin on her blazer's lapel, the easy confidence in her stance. "Julian mentioned you. Said you're independent, living that free-spirited life in the city." It was meant as a dig, and Arabella felt it land, but she shrugged it off. "Something like that. He's lucky to have you keeping him in line." Lydia's laugh was brittle. "Oh honey, you have no idea." She leaned in, voice dropping to a conspiratorial hiss. "But let's keep things appropriate, shall we? This is a family event. Not a whatever this is." Her gaze flicked to the spot where Emery had stood, implication hanging heavy. Arabella's stomach twisted. "Appropriate? We're just talking." "Talking?" Lydia's eyes gleamed with something darker, disdain, perhaps fear. "Look, I get it. The whole lifestyle thing. But not here. Not today. Save it for your clubs or whatever." She straightened, voice rising just enough to carry. Heads turned from the lawn below. The shatter came next, Lydia's flute, hurled not at Arabella but close enough, champagne fizzing into the dirt like spilled secrets. "You think you can just waltz in here, flaunting your deviance like it's some badge of honor? This is my wedding. Go find your own circus." The words hung a guillotine blade. Gasps rippled through the guests. Julian pushed forward, face ashen. "Lydia, what the hell?" But Arabella was already turning, the terrace blurring through hot tears she refused to let fall. She was 32, out and proud since 16, but this public carving felt like being 16 again, Dad's Bible thumping on the kitchen table, Mom's averted eyes. Freak. Abomination. She'd built walls for this, a life in New York where rainbow flags flew free. But Spain's golden light exposed every crack. She fled to the vineyard's edge, vines heavy with purple clusters, the earth soft under her boots. Sobs came then, raw and ragged, her back against a gnarled trunk. How had she missed it? Julian's emails had painted Lydia as progressive, a donor to women's shelters. But bigotry didn't always wear a hood. Sometimes it hid in lace and laughter. Footsteps crunched behind her, soft, deliberate. "Hey, you okay?" Emery. Camera dangling, forgotten. Her face etched with worry. She didn't touch, didn't crowd, just stood there, a steady presence in the fading light. Arabella wiped her face, voice thick. "Define okay." Emery crouched, level with her eyes. "The kind where you don't let one idiot's poison define you." She pulled a bandana from her pocket, faded rainbow stripes, and offered it. "Here. For the war paint." A choked laugh escaped Arabella. "War paint?" "Yeah." She took it, dabbing at her cheeks. Up close, Emery smelled of eucalyptus and darkroom chemicals, grounding in the chaos. They sat then, backs to the vine, the parties hummed distant as a dream. Emery didn't pry, just shared a story of her own. A high school prom where her date outed her mid-dance, the whole gym erupting in whispers. "I walked out in my thrift store tux. Felt like the world ended. But it didn't. Just rerouted." Arabella nodded, the knot in her chest loosening. "Rerouted. I like that." She glanced at Emery, really looked. The way her curls caught the moonlight, the quiet strength in her squared shoulders. "Thanks for coming after me. Couldn't let you face the vines alone. They're judgmental bastards." Emery grinned, dimples flashing, and for the first time that night Arabella felt seen, not as the family fixer or the deviant sister, but as herself. As stars pricked the indigo sky, they talked until the party's lights dimmed. Julian found them eventually, apology spilling like rain. "Bells, I'm so sorry." She stressed the jet lag. But Arabella waved him off, Emery's presence a shield. "It's your night," she said, hugging him tight. "We'll talk later." Later came at dawn, over black coffee in the villa's courtyard, Julian's face haggard. "I didn't know she'd go nuclear like that. Lydia's from old money Boston Brahmins. Some of that sticks, you know? But she's not. She doesn't mean it." Arabella sipped her espresso, the steam curling like questions. "Doesn't she? Or are you excusing it because it's easier?" He winced. "I love her, Bells. And she loves me. This place, Spain, it's magical. Changes people. Or reveals them." She set her cup down, the porcelain clinking like finality. "I'm staying. For you. But don't ask me to pretend." The days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Mornings. Arabella sketching in the villa's shaded loggia, charcoal strokes capturing the jagged sierras. Afternoons. Wandering Ronda's Puente Nuevo with Emery, who extended her gig into extended candids, her camera clicking at Arabella's unguarded smiles. They shared churros dusted with sugar in hidden plazas, feet dangling over cliffs where wind whispered secrets. Emery spoke of her abuela in Oaxaca, the tamales that tasted of home, the way photography let her freeze joy before it fled. Arabella confessed her fears, of being the forever alone sister, of loving fiercely only to watch it wither. One evening as they hiked a Olive Grove trail, the sun dipping low, Emery stopped, breath catching. "Arabella, it's not just the rebound from bullshit, is it?" Heart hammering, Arabella met her gaze. "No. It's the first real thing in years." Their first kiss was tentative, lips brushing under a canopy of silver leaves, tasting of salt and sweetness. No fireworks, just a quiet blooming, like dawn over the Guadalquivir. It scared Arabella how easy it felt, how right. But shadows lingered. Lydia's glares across dinner tables, Julian's strained silences, the unspoken rift carving deeper. The betrayal came on the 8th day, under a sky bruised purple with storm clouds rolling in from the Atlantic. Arabella and Emery had stolen away to the whitewashed village of Frigiliana, an hour's drive along hairpin roads flanked by almond blossoms and sheer drops that made your stomach lurch. It was meant to be their escape. A day unmoored from the villa's tensions, just the two of them navigating cobblestone alleys scented with honeysuckle and fresh-baked pan-con tomate. Emery drove the rented Fiat, one hand on the wheel, the other tracing lazy circles on Arabella's knee. The radio hummed flamenco guitar, low and soulful, mirroring the pull in Arabella's chest. "Tell me something true," Emery said, eyes on the road but voice soft, inviting. Arabella leaned back, wind whipping through the open window. "I'm terrified of this ending. Of going back to Brooklyn, you to Seattle, and it all dissolving like mist." Emery's grip tightened, reassuring. "Then don't let it." "I'm not mist, Arabella. I'm the kind that sticks, fog on the sound, the kind that lingers till noon." They arrived as rain began to spit, fat drops pattering on terracotta roofs. Frigiliana unfolded like a fairy tale. Narrow streets twisting uphill, doors painted indigo and ochre, geraniums spilling from wrought iron balconies. They ducked into a taberna, ordering plates of aja blanco and gambas al pil-pil, fingers brushing over shared bread. Laughter flowed, easy stories unfurling. Emery's botched first gallery show, where a projector malfunctioned mid-presentation. Arabella's tattoo, a tiny thorned rose on her ribcage, inked after her coming out, imploded her high school friendships. As the storm broke in earnest, thunder rumbling like distant applause, they dashed to a mirador overlooking the valley. Rain slicked their skin, plastering Emery's curls to her neck, darkening Arabella's shirt to her collarbone. Sheltering under an awning, breaths mingling, Emery cupped Arabella's face. "You're beautiful when you're soaked. Like you've been reborn." The kiss that followed was deeper, hungrier. Hands roaming backs, pulling close against the chill. It was passion tempered by tenderness, the kind that promises tomorrows. They whispered plans then. A weekend in New York, Emery shooting a queer art collective. Arabella visiting the Olympics in Seattle, sketching the ferries against fog-shrouded peaks. For the first time, Arabella let herself dream of us, not as a footnote but a chapter. Back at the villa by twilight, the air electric with petrichor, Arabella felt lighter, unburdened, until she saw Julian in the courtyard, pacing like a caged wolf, phone clutched white-knuckled. Bells. His voice cracked. We need to talk. They retreated to the library, a cool book-lined room smelling of leather and aged paper, its windows framing lightning-veined skies. Julian collapsed into an armchair, running hands through his hair. Lydia knows. About you and Emery. Arabella's blood iced. How? Doesn't matter. She confronted me. Said it's embarrassing. That guests are talking, that it makes us look bad. He gestured vaguely, encompassing the wedding, the family name. I told her to back off, that you're my sister blood. But Godbells, she recorded you two. On the terrace that first night. Showed it to me like evidence. The world tilted. Recorded? She spied on us. Jealousy, I think. Or control. She's always been insecure about the spotlight. Julian's eyes pleaded. But I stood up for you. Swear it. Told her if she pulls that shit again, we're done. Arabella sank onto the rug, knees to chest. Betrayal layered thick. Lydia's for the invasion, Julian's for not seeing it sooner. You love her, she said flatly. Despite this. Despite everything. He knelt beside her, hand on her shoulder. I do. But I love you more. Your family. The real kind. Thunder boomed, shaking the casements. Arabella searched his face. The boy who'd shared secrets under porch lights. The man who'd chosen silence to keep peace. Fix this, Jules. Or I walk. He nodded, fierce. I will. But promises are fragile as sea glass. And the storm unearthed more. That night, as rain lashed the tiles, Arabella found Emery in the garden alcove, scrolling her phone, face stormy. You see this? She thrust the screen forward. A grainy video, time-stamped from the terrace. Arabella and Emery mid-laugh. Captioned Wedding Crasher Alert. Groom Cisco's rogue Spain wedding fail. It had gone viral in their small circle. Lydia's sorority chats, no doubt, likes piling like accusations. Emery's jaw clenched. Your sister-in-law's a piece of work. Posted it anonymously, but the tags? Obvious. Arabella's throat burned. She's threatened. By happiness she can't control. Emery pulled her close, chin resting on her crown. Then we fight it. Together. They did in small ways. Arabella confronting Lydia at breakfast the next morning, voice steady over courtadou and churros. Delete it. Apologize. Or the whole damn internet sees your true colors. Lydia's facade cracked. Eyes red-rimmed, hands trembling as she clutched her mug. You don't understand. This is my day. My family, they're traditional. If word gets back. She trailed off, vulnerability peeking through the armor. Boston elite, Arabella recalled. Expectations like iron shackles, love conditional on perfection. Tradition doesn't justify cruelty, Arabella said, soft but unyielding. We're all just trying to breathe. Lydia nodded, deleting the post with a swipe, but the damage lingered. Whispers at the farewell brunch, Julian's forced smiles. Still, in the quiet hours, Arabella and Emery carved sanctuary. Midnight swims in the villa pool, bodies gliding silver under moonlight. Dawn drives to hidden coves where waves crashed like confessions. The climax brewed midweek. At the rehearsal dinner in a cliffside hacienda overlooking the Mediterranean. Lanterns glowed amber, tables laden with paella and jamon iberico. The sea a black mirror below. Guests mingled. Lydia's polished relatives in linen shifts. Julian's old college buds in rumpled polos. Arabella wore a simple black dress, slit to the thigh, her pride pin gleaming. Emery invited as extended family. In a crisp white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, camera retired for the night. Toasts began. Heartfelt, humorous, the wine flowing crimson. Julian's turn came, glass raised, eyes locking on Arabella across the flames. To family, he said, voice thick. The ones who show up, scars and all. Who love fierce without apology. To my sister Arabella, the bravest soul I know. You've taught me more about grace than any vow. Cheers erupted, but Lydia's face soured, her fork clattering. Grace. She stood, wobbling slightly, the Rioja betraying her. That's rich, coming from you. Her gaze swung to Arabella, venom spilling. Grace? Like prancing around with the help, turning my wedding into your little queer sideshow. Silence crashed like the waves below. Guests froze. Forks midair, breaths held. Julian surged up. Lydia, stop. But she was a dam breaking, words flooding. You think I don't see? The looks, the touches. It's disgusting. And you? She whirled on Julian. Defending it? For her? Your freak sister who couldn't even bring a real date. The slur landed like a slap, echoing off stone walls. Arabella's vision tunneled, the world narrowing to Lydia's flushed triumph, the betrayal etching Julian's features. Emery was there in a heartbeat, arm around Arabella's waist, her whisper fierce. Don't. She's not worth it. But Arabella stepped forward, voice a blade honed by years of survival. Freak? That's your word, Lydia. Yours and your ghosts. But here's truth. Love isn't a sideshow. It's the main act. And you're missing it chasing shadows. Lydia laughed, bitter. Love? That's what you call it. Pity parade for the broken. Julian grabbed her arm. Enough. We're leaving. Now. The dinner dissolved. Guests murmuring exits, the hacienda emptying like a theater after tragedy. In the Fiat's headlights, Julian drove in silence, Lydia sobbing in the passenger seat, Arabella and Emery trailing in their own car. At the villa, confrontation ignited. Julian and Lydia in the foyer, voices rising like flames. You're toxic, he shouted. This isn't love. It's control. And you're blind, she hurled back. Choosing her over me? Over us. Arabella lingered in the shadows, Emery's hand in hers, heart pounding. Betrayal's aftertaste was ash. Julian's defense a bandage on a severed limb. As doors slammed, Lydia fleeing to their suite, Julian slumped against the wall. I can't. I thought I could fix her. You can't fix hate, Arabella said, pulling him into a hug. But you can choose better. He nodded, tears streaking. I choose you. Always. Dawn broke gray, the storm's remnants dripping from eaves. Arabella and Emery packed in quiet solidarity, suitcases zipped against the chill. At the airport in Malaga, amid the clamor of departures, they stood at the gate, Julian hugging Arabella fierce, promising calls, therapy, a redo without the poison. Lydia didn't appear. Word came later. Annulment papers drawn, her flight to Boston solo. The wedding, uncelebrated, it became legend in family lore. A cautionary tale of unchecked shadows. But for Arabella, the real story was the woman beside her, boarding pass to Seattle in hand. Rerouted, Emery murmured, kissing her temple. To us. As the plane lifted over the Costa del Sol, Spain shrinking to a glittering ribbon, Arabella felt the weight lift. Not all at once but in waves, like the sea they'd left behind, relentless, renewing. Months later, autumn painted Brooklyn in russet and gold, the kind of crisp that crunched under boots and begged for scarves. Arabella's Bushwick walk-up smelled of sage and fresh ink, canvases leaning against walls like impatient lovers. She'd thrown herself into work, commissions for queer zines, murals for a local shelter, each brushstroke a reclamation. The Spain scar faded to a faint line, tender but healed, Julian's weekly calls a bomb. Therapy's kicking my ass but I'm clearer. Miss you, Rock. Emery had become the horizon she chased. Their long-distance dance was a masterclass in patience. Video dates over mismatched time zones, care packages of Polaroids and pressed olive leaves. Emery's latest. A mixtape of indie folk, scribbled liner notes promising Seattle's waiting thorn rose. Arabella played it on loop, her tattoo itching like a vow. The visit arrived on a wing and a prayer. Emery's grant for a photo series on urban queerness, funding a month in New York. Arabella met her at JFK, heart somersaulting amid the chaos of reunions and rolling luggage. Emery emerged from the crowd, curls wild from the flight, a duffel slung over one shoulder, grin splitting wide. No words, just collision, arms wrapping tight, the airport dissolving to white noise. That night in Arabella's apartment, they cooked paella from memory. Saffron threads blooming gold in the pan, shrimp sizzling with garlic whispers. Over candlelight flickering on mismatched plates, they debriefed the interim. Emery's gallery show in Pioneer Square, where her Spain shots, carefully cropped, Lydia excised, earned murmurs of haunting intimacy. Arabella's book club pick, The Price of Salt, sparking debates on love's quiet rebellions. You're glowing, Emery said. tracing Arabella's jaw with a fingertip. Spain suits you still. You suit me. Arabella leaned in, their kiss slow, savoring, like the wine they'd uncorked, bold and layered. The weeks unfolded in a haze of discovery. Mornings, tangled sheets, coffee brewed strong, sketches of Emery's sleeping form. Hazel eyes closed, lashes fanning like secrets. Afternoons, wandering the high line, hands linked, Emery's camera capturing graffiti blooms against rusted rails. Gallery hops in Chelsea, where Arabella's critiques drew Emery's admiring side-eye. Evenings, rooftop bars in Williamsburg, city lights sprawling like promises, toasts to reroutes and rainbows. But drama shadowed romance as it does. Julian's updates turned turbulent. Lydia's reconciliation attempts. Bouquets delivered to his DC apartment, tearful voicemails pleading second chances. He resisted, but doubt crept in. A whisper Arabella heard in his hesitant, "What if she's changed?" "You're stronger than this," Arabella urged over a call, Emery listening from the kitchen, chopping cilantro. "Don't rebuild on ruins." "I know. But love's messy, Bells. Like yours was." The barb stung unintended. Arabella hung up, unease coiling. That night, as rain sheeted the windows, she confessed to Emery. "He sounds like me, post-Spain. Clinging to what hurts because it's familiar." Emery pulled her close, legs entwined on the couch. "Familiar isn't fate. You chose different. We both did." Their bond deepened in the quiet fractures, Emery opening about her own ghosts. A college ex who weaponized faith, outing her to Oaxaca relatives. The abuela who'd hugged her anyway, whispering Dios ama a todos. Arabella shared the thorn legacy. Dad's slow fade into illness, Mom's brittle faith, Julian's role as golden child. "I was the fixer because no one fixed me," she admitted, voice small. Emery kissed her knuckles. "I'm fixing that. Starting now." The conflict crested at Thanksgiving. A thorn tradition Arabella had long skipped. This year she went, for Julian, for closure, Emery in tow, her presence a quiet declaration. The upstate farmhouse loomed unchanged. Sagging porch, maples aflame, the air sharp with wood smoke and memory. Mom greeted them at the door, silver hair pinned neat, eyes wary but softening at Emery's warm handshake. "Welcome. We've got pie." Dad was in the den, wheelchair-bound, his once booming voice a rasp. "Heard about Spain," he said, gripping Arabella's hand with surprising strength. "Sounds like you kicked ass." She blinked back, tears. "Trying to." Dinner was a minefield. Turkey carved with precision, cranberry relish tart as accusations. Julian arrived last, alone, his smile strained. Whispers circled the table. Mom's pointed glances at their linked hands, Dad's coughs masking discomfort. Then the text. Julian's phone buzzing mid-grace, face paling as he read. "Lydia," he muttered, excusing himself. The table tensed. Arabella followed him to the porch, Emery trailing like a shadow. Rain misted the rails, Julian staring at the fields. "She's here. In town. Wants to talk." "Don't," Arabella said, urgent. "Not like this." He turned, eyes wild. "You don't get it. She says she's sorry. In therapy. What if?" The door creaked. Lydia stepped out, coat clutched like armor, blonde hair limp in the damp. "Julian." Her gaze flicked to Arabella, then Emery, flinching but holding. I owe you all apologies." The air thickened. Emery squeezed Arabella's hand, a lifeline. Lydia's words tumbled. Regrets for Spain, the video, the slurs. "I was scared. Of not being enough. Of losing him to truths I didn't understand." She met Arabella's eyes, raw. "You're not a freak. You're family. I was the monster." Silence stretched, rain pattering. Julian stepped forward, but Arabella spoke first. "Words are cheap, Lydia. Show us." She nodded, tears mingling with mist. "I will. If you'll let me try." The meal resumed awkwardly, Lydia at the far end, passing rolls with tentative smiles. Conversation limped. Dad's stories of Mom's pie recipe. Emery bridged gaps, her tales of Pacific Northwest rains drawing laughs. As plates cleared, Julian pulled Arabella aside. "She's changed. I see it. Or you want to." Arabella hugged him. "Just guard your heart." Back in Brooklyn, the visit lingered like smoke. Emery's grant extended, another month, and they dove deeper. Joint projects, a photo illustration series on queer exiles, Arabella's sketches paired with Emery's lenses. Vulnerability wove tighter. Late-night confessions of insecurities, fears of inadequacy. What if I'm too broken for this? Arabella whispered once, post-nightmare of Spain's terrace. Emery traced her thorn rose tattoo. Broken? Nah. You're mosaic. And I love the pieces. Romance bloomed in gestures. Emery's surprise weekend in the Catskills, cabin rented by a burbling stream, where they hiked to overlooks, leaves crunching symphonies. There under stars pricked like promises Emery knelt. Not with rings but a vintage locket, engraved rerouted to you. Not a proposal. A pledge. Till we're ready. Arabella's yes was a sob, joy and terror entwined. Yet drama simmered. Lydia's overtures persisted, group texts, invites to holiday brunches. Julian accepted, cautiously, but Arabella held back, the scar twinging. One call, he confessed. She's pushing for counseling. Together. Says she gets it now, your world, our world. Prove it, Arabella echoed. The turning point came in December. Snow blanketing the city in hush. Emery's show opened at a Soho loft. Andalusian echoes. Prints of vineyards and stolen glances. Arabella's illustrations woven in. The crowd buzzed. Artists in berets, collectors in cashmere, Julian and Lydia at the fringes. Lydia approached during intermission, wine glass trembling. These are stunning. You both of you. I was wrong. So wrong. Arabella studied her, lines etched deeper, eyes softer. Why now? Fear lost me everything. I don't want to lose more. She glanced at Julian, adoring. Or gain back what's real. Emery joined, arm around Arabella. Apology accepted. But trust? That's earned. Lydia nodded. Fair. As the night wound down, snow swirling outside, Arabella felt the thaw. Forgiveness, not absolution, but a door cracked. Julian pulled her into a dance, Emery twirling them both, laughter echoing. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by harmony's hum. Spring arrived in Seattle like a hesitant lover. Cherry blossoms unfurling pink against gunmetal skies, the sound a restless mirror. Arabella had sublet her Bushwick studio, trading subway rattles for fairy horns, her life repacked into 2 suitcases and a heart full of maybes. Emery's apartment in Capitol Hill was a sunlit chaos. Film reels stacked like Jenga, walls papered in Polaroids, a kitchenette where they burned toast but perfected tamales. Integration was art, not accident. Arabella found freelance gigs, designing posters for Pride events, her style bold lines and hidden thorns. Emery's series sold out, critics praising the raw humanism, whispers of East Coast galleries. Evenings were theirs. Hikes in Discovery Park, salt air tangling their hair. Bonfires on Alki Beach, marshmallows charred to confessions. Julian's updates steadied. Couples therapy with Lydia, progress in fits, arguments aired, apologies rooted. She's volunteering at a shelter now, he emailed. Your influence. Arabella replied with photos. Her and Emery at Pike Place, tossing fish with tourists, grins wide. But conflict, that old companion, resurfaced in summer's heat. A call from Mom. Dad's decline accelerating, hospital stays blurring days. Come home, she pleaded. He asks for you. Arabella booked the red eye, Emery insisting on joining. The farmhouse felt smaller, shadows longer. Dad frail in his recliner, eyes milky but sharp. Brought the troublemaker? He teased Emery, who knelt, sharing prints of Spanish sunsets. Trouble's my specialty, she quipped, earning his wheeze laugh. Nights were vigils. Arabella holding Dad's hand, stories of fireflies and first bikes. Proud of you, kid, he murmured once, voice athread. For being you. Wish I'd said it sooner. Tears came then, cathartic. You say it now. That's enough. Lydia appeared on the third day, tentative, pie in hand, eyes downcast. Thought you could use this. No fanfare, just presence. Over coffee she and Arabella talked, really talked. I grew up believing love was a transaction, Lydia confessed. Earn it or lose it. Spain. I lost myself trying to win. Arabella nodded. We all do sometimes. But redemption's not a checkmark. It's daily. Lydia's smile was genuine, fragile. Learning that. Dad passed a week later, quiet as dusk. Family gathered, hands linked. The funeral was small. Upstate church hymns swelling eulogies laced with light. Arabella spoke last. He taught us resilience. And love, messy unspoken but there. Emery's hand in hers anchored the words. Grief was a tide ebbing in waves. Back in Seattle they mourned actively. A memorial hike, Dad's favorite Dylan on repeat. Arabella's sculpture, a thorned oak and clay fired in Emery's kiln. Romance deepened in the rawness. Nights where silence spoke volumes. Bodies a language of solace. Climax brewed in autumn. At a family summit Julian proposed neutral ground, a cabin in the Adirondacks. Closure, he said. For all of us. They arrived under maples aflame. Julian and Lydia, hands linked tentatively. Mom silver stoic. Arabella and Emery a unit. Air crackled with unspoken, Spain's ghost, Dad's absence. Dinner thawed it. Stories swapped wine loosening tongues. Lydia shared her podcast. Unlearning privilege, episodes on allyship earning quiet nods. But nightfall unearthed the core. Around the fire pit, sparks ascending like prayers, Julian cleared his throat. I almost lost you both, he said, eyes on Arabella and Lydia. Because I chose sides instead of truth. Lydia leaned into him. I was the wedge. But I'm choosing bridge now. Arabella's turn. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's freeing. She raised her glass, Emery's beside it. To family blood chosen mended. Cheers rippled, tentative then true. Laughter followed, Emery's tale of a botched proposal in Patagonia. Ring lost to a llama. Mom's admission of her own hidden loves, a college crush unspoken. Dawn brought vows unspoken. Julian and Lydia's recommitment, simple bands exchanged by the lake. For Arabella the humanism crystallized, not in perfection but persistence. Love wasn't absence of storm but dancing in it. Winter solstice found them in Oaxaca, Emery's roots calling. Abuela's courtyard bloomed poinsettias, tamales steaming, stars a canopy overhead. They danced to mariachi, hips swaying, Arabella's head on Emery's shoulder. This, Emery whispered, is forever. Arabella smiled. Thorn rose warm against skin. Rerouted home. Years wove on. A commitment ceremony in the Sierras, Julian officiating, Lydia's toast tearful and true. Arabella's gallery in Brooklyn, Emery's lenses immortalizing it. Children came, not blood but chosen. Foster kids fostering hope. Their home a haven of stories. In quiet moments Arabella traced the scar, Spain's gift a reminder. Betrayal had carved but love rebuilt, stronger, veined with gold. Human, flawed, enduring. And in the vineyard's echo under Andalusian sun she knew. The greatest drama was grace.